Also came in the initial ranking. Joe Burrow has been a huge part of the reason why, and he's got a lot at stake this Saturday, including an opportunity to increase his Heisman stock. His 30 passing touchdowns are second in the country. That's already the most in a single season in program history. So on Saturday, LSU is a 6.5-point underdog, according to Caesars. Our FPI gives the Tigers a 28% chance to come away with a win. But don't tell that to the guy sitting next to me. That's Ryan Clark. And don't tell it to the guy sitting on your screen. That's LSU head coach Ed Orgeron. Coach, we thank you very much for joining us this week. And let me start you right there with the rankings last night and get your reaction. The first rankings were released as obviously you saw your team is number 2. What was your reaction to where they put you guys?
Yeah, I think it's great for the university. It's great for our football team, but it doesn't matter. We have a big game. That's our focus this week.
Coach, with that being said, we've been waiting for November 9th all year. The rankings come out. You guys are number 2. How are you keeping the team focused on the main thing, which is going to Tuscaloosa and getting a win over a team we haven't beaten in 8 years?
You know, Ryan, as you know, we have a very mature team, great leadership. The focus has been on fundamentals, been on technique. The focus has been about LSU getting better this week. I know we're going to be ready to play.
Well, let's drill into that a little bit here. How would you, Coach, put into words what is at stake this Saturday?
Everything's on the line. And when everything's on the line, I believe in this football team. But you know what? We don't make the game bigger than it is. This is an important game for us, obviously, to get where we want to go, but we take it one game at a time.
Okay, I'm going to actually ask almost for your help with that, because between Marcus Spears and Ryan Clark, I can't control my studio this week, and it's only Wednesday. How do you deal with the emotions of your players who are a lot younger than they are on a week like this?
You know, obviously it's about focus. Obviously it's about practice. Obviously about the task at hand. I tell them to block out the noise. We don't talk about rankings. We don't talk about anything else but LSU getting better today.
RC, how different is it for a player on a week like this?
No, it's absolutely different. Like, coach is going to try to keep these guys calm, but they remember the games of not scoring any points and coming in highly ranked. They're going to want to win. But what I want to ask you, Coach, is how important will Joe Burrow be to that? I've watched LSU since before I got to school there in '97, and obviously after. He's been the most important player to a team I've ever seen since Kevin Falk in Baton Rouge. How important is he going to be to winning this game on Saturday?
Well, as you know, Joe's great under pressure. We want the ball in his hands under pressure, just like he made the play against Texas, 3rd down and 17. We've been in a hostile environment. We play some big-time teams. We play some great defensive lines, so we're ready for this. Joe Burrow's a winner. He's a leader. We believe in him.
All right, Coach, I'd like you to share a story that we talked about this week, just to give a sense of how personal something like this is to you. You were born and raised in Louisiana. You played your college football at Northwestern State. But I saw you tell a story that you were actually recruited at one point by Alabama and Bear Bryant, and that your dad got involved in that. I'd love you to share that story with our audience.
Well, it's a long time ago, and obviously this is about our football team, but I was a recruited player. Obviously, I ended up signing with LSU. The assistant coach called, and Coach Bryant was going to come to my house. I told my dad, he said, there's no use of him coming to our house, son. You're going to LSU. I wish it was like that today.
Hey, Coach, man, listen, I love that. And all I got to say, Coach, is I still remember it. We coming, and we ain't backing down. And I cannot wait for Saturday night.
We coming.
Quick final thought, and Coach, we very much appreciate your time today. We know it's a big week. Does the fact, I mentioned what Las Vegas thinks, what the experts think, what the history of all that is, how does all of that go into the way you prepare your team to play this week?
Nothing. Today's turnover Wednesday. It's about the football. We're +4, they're +13. We got to win the turnover battle. This is going to be a physical war. You got to win the game on the line of scrimmage. We're prepared for it.
All right, Coach, listen, we thank you very much. Again, I can't keep these guys calm, so I have no idea how you're handling it this week. But best of luck this week. Thank you so much for the time today, and we'll see you Saturday.
Thank you, guys. Go Tigers.
Yes, sir.
There he is. There's Coach O. RC is fired up. Let me bring it out to the desk here and bring my college football guys in.
See,
here.
Joey Galloway, they don't do this. They don't do this at the Horseshoe. This is not how it works, man. It's not how it works. See how he all up here,
you guys
all
have lost
cool
8 in a
and
row.
chilling.
That's all I'm saying.
See, that's all you worried about is the past, Joey Galloway.
saying.
Ain't nobody worried about that.
Let's talk about this for a minute here, because this is the kind of game that I think, even if you're not a huge dyed-in-the-wool college football fan, you get super excited for maybe 4 or 5 games a year. Here's the one. This game obviously means everything. The history is all on Bama's side, right? And he never loses at home. What should give the LSU fan, cover your ears a second here, RC, what should give the LSU fan reason to believe this is going to be different?
They have to believe it because they said the exact same thing last year, and the game was 29-0 in Tiger Stadium, and Joe Burrow was the quarterback.
But this is a different
Joe
kid,
Brady wasn't there, though.
I knew that's the coordinator. But Burrow is, I mean, he's that kind of good. For those who haven't watched LSU
He's not the
play
same
this
quarterback.
year,
So,
he's that kind of good.
I had a guy call me last night and said, what's different? Well, Joe Burrow is a different player.
Yes.
They have a different mindset. But the big question is, can they go there and win, Joey? That's what we have to believe. We don't know the answer to that yet.
I don't know that I've seen one player take as big a jump from one season to the next as Joe Burrow has taken. And I don't know that has anything to do with the coordinator, because I've always asked guys, can you teach a quarterback how to anticipate things, how to see things before they're open? And they've all said to me, I don't think you can teach it. It has to be in a quarterback. And Joe Burrow's doing that this season as well as anyone out there. He makes LSU different, but they're still going on the road. They're still going to Alabama. And they still don't know. There's not a player on that team that has beat Alabama. Do they believe that they can go on the road and beat Alabama?
I think they believe, because one thing is, like, these kids are ignorant to that. And even if they played in this game, when you look at Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson, Terrace Marshall, Joe Burrow, all of these guys are 4 and 5 stars who've seen these dudes at different tournaments, at different type of camps. The other part is this. I stood next to a scout in August, and I watched Joe Burrow make 5 starting NFL caliber throws at practice. I turned to him, I said, I didn't know he had that. And I tweeted about it that day. And we've seen those things in a pro-style offense from a passing standpoint.
I've got to say one thing. Coach Ogeron's going to Alabama. He said something blasphemous a minute ago. Nobody goes to Alabama after saying, I turned Bear Bryant away from my house. That's not happening.
It's going to be really interesting. We'll get a prediction.
You know what that means, Coach?
Yeah.
If we wasn't worried about Bear Bryant then, we ain't worried about Nick Saban today.
Well, look, these kids are all recruited by the same places. The LSU kids, for years, I think, can look across the field and say, we're as good as they are. They just haven't gotten it done. Will this finally be the year that they do? We'll talk more about it as we go. Meanwhile, back to the NFL. Dominique Foxworth, jump back in with me here. Let's play Contender Pretender, and we'll focus on the NFC for now. Eagles, are they a contender or a pretender to make the playoffs?
I think they're a contender. Carson Wentz, as we all know, is an MVP caliber player. He's fantastic. They got a running game now that looks a lot more impressive than at the start of the season because their offensive line is playing well, and that D-line is getting healthy at the right time and playing pretty well. I know the secondary is a lot to be concerned about, but I think it's also a little bit of faith in them because we've seen them do it before.
How about the Seattle Seahawks, contenders or pretenders?
They're pretenders, man. Like, they are a mediocre team with an outstanding quarterback. They've had 4 fourth-quarter comebacks this season to win. And I know that's something to celebrate, and that's a reason to talk about why Russell Wilson is the MVP candidate. But that tells you that this team is not very good. Their defense is about 26th in the league. Jadeveon Clowney's playing well, but everybody else on that defense not doing well. They are pretenders in a tough NFC.
Again, this is to make the playoffs. Fascinating. They play San Francisco on Monday Night Football coming up. The unbeaten Niners. It's an interesting matchup. Do you agree? Do you not buy Seattle?
I do buy Seattle, and I do understand that they have deficiencies. I've tweeted about it. I've talked about it defensively. But right now, Chris Carson is running the ball well again, which gives you play-action pass. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf have really been revelations at the wide receiver position because you were nervous about losing Doug Baldwin. Yeah. I think Monday tells us a lot more about this team, but right now this team is definitely a contender for the playoffs, and I believe even in a tough NFC, they'll be right there.
I like everything that you said. You're not wrong about anything, but part of the reasons why you've been on the Saints so far this season is because they've played good teams and they have some good wins against good teams. I've looked at that Seattle schedule. They don't have any really impressive wins, and their schedule only gets harder, and the bad teams that they beat, they needed to do it with fourth-quarter comebacks. This team is not good.
That'll change Tuesday morning. The schedule will have changed one way or the other. Quickly, they signed Josh Gordon. They're trying to get him ready to go. Can he make a difference there? You mentioned Lockett and Metcalf are good.
He can definitely make a difference. Whenever you add a player of that caliber, it helps, and especially when you have 2 wide receivers that are playing very well, doing things that are specific to their skill set.
I'll say this. Hembo, look this up for me. What's the last time an MVP came from a team that didn't make the playoffs? I'm not sure that's happened in a long time. That would hurt Russell a lot. Yeah. Meanwhile, here's another guy who might be the MVP of the league. Lamar Jackson does incredible things. RC saw something on Sunday that caused him to jump out of his seat and then tweet about it. It's everybody's favorite 5 minutes as I read Ryan's tweets. And then, I told you LeBron was going scorched earth this year. Wait till you see what he tweeted last night. All that and more coming up. Get up on ESPN.